Hi, and welcome to Something to Talk About. I'm STALindaMcNamee, and for the next hour, as you saw from our introduction, we're going to talk about the project update on the new and improved Burlington High School. But before we begin, and I know you're dying to find out all the details, you are welcome to email me at talk@bcattv.org. I also want to thank the crew for this evening. Chris Flaherty, one of the staff members, makes sure that all of us volunteers are happy volunteers so we could continue to come back and volunteer, if that makes sense. And speaking of volunteers, we have Gwyneth McNamee, Lucian Gates, and Evan McNamee, who have given up their Wednesday evening to come hang out at BCAT and find out about their new high school, although I think they're going to be gone by the time it's there. But anyway, we'll find that out in a minute. Joining me this evening is Melissa Massardo, who is the school committee chair, but more importantly, you are a concerned parent with children that will need to go to this new school.
I hope.
Because it's around the same timeline. My kids are going to be graduated.
Yes.
But, okay, so thank you for joining me, and especially since I know it was last minute, I really appreciate your just like saying, sure, why not? So thank you.
No problem.
So before we get into the building project as it stands right now, tell me a little bit about yourself, how you came to the Burlington area, what made you decide to get involved with the school committee?
Sure. I grew up in Derry, New Hampshire, which I think is a fairly similarly sized town to Burlington. Okay. Doesn't quite have the industry, but has the kind of 4 elementary schools, 1 middle, 1 high. I went to Boston College and lived outside of Boston in Somerville for a long time, and my husband and I lived there. We wanted, the typical suburban house. We looked, and this was 2014.
Don't really get a lawn in Somerville.
Yeah, no. We had 1 parking space, so that that was ideal. So we ended up in Burlington. I've been here almost 11 years now. Yay. Yeah. I have a kid. As of today, I still have a kindergartner and a 3rd grader, but for 1 more day. Yep. Next year, I'll have a 1st and a 4th grader at Fox Hill.
And they'll go to school on the same bus, and they'll come home on the same bus.
They go together. That's been a great upgrade this year for them being together, for sure.
Wait, is kindergarten full?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I forgot about that.
Yep, they go to after school, but they go on the same bus, but they would come home on the same bus.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just remembering pre-COVID when, kindergarten was 3/4.
Fair enough. Yep. Nope, it's full day now.
I'm dating myself. I know. Okay, school committee. Why did you decide to get involved?
Sure.
Because that sounds kind of scary.
So my older son was in kindergarten at Fox Hill, and basically it was overcrowded. Fox Hill was kind of falling apart, and there was no parents on the school committee at that point in time. Okay. So I first ran in 2022. So I joined the school committee in 2022 to be kind of a voice of the parents. And it was just, and also I felt like that was really the first full-time post-COVID year that they went back. It was 21 into 22. So there really weren't ways for parents to be involved, and this was kind of an opportunity for me to be involved. And boy, am I involved, right?
Yeah. Well, if you want someone to be involved, you find somebody who's already involved in a bazillion things because they're great at time management skills.
Thank you. Yeah.
So. And here we are.
Here we are.
And we are talking about,
Burlington
we're talking
High
about
School.
A new high school.
Yes.
Oh, wait, did you still want to talk about, school committee and Burlington and all that kind of stuff, or should we jump into tonight?
Yeah, we can jump in. I can just set the stage as to I am the chair of the Fox Hill School Building Committee. So that was the first school building committee that I joined. Okay. Almost immediately, I took over for Tom Murphy, who retired from the school committee. So he was on that committee. So I joined that committee. We had got accepted into the MSBA Fox Hill in 2020. That's how slow these processes go. Okay. So
I was going to ask for like an update on that because I totally remember.
Yeah. So we're very deep in Fox Hill, but Fox Hill was approved by the MSBA in 2020. And it passed town meeting last year, so it is a go. There will be a new Fox Hill. But the MSBA projects are very slow just because you do some work, you send it to the MSBA. Yes. So Fox Hill will break ground in probably March or April of next year.
Oh, okay.
And it will open in February of 2028.
Okay.
So that's where we are with Fox Hill. And then I am a member of the Burlington High School Building Committee. So the whole school committee has lots of meetings.
Okay.
But so that program is not an MSBA program, and I can answer the reason why. I know it's later on your question list, but I can jump right into it now.
Because we're talking about
Sure. So
wait, can we back up just a little bit? Who is on the building committee for the potentially new high school?
Sure. I'm not sure I can name.
Just school committee members?
I will.
You don't have to say names, but like.
Yeah, I'll do it a little general. So it is all 5 school committee members, Dr. Conti, so the superintendent, Dr. Chen, the assistant superintendent, and then we have John Denizio, the town administrator, is on there.
Okay.
We have representation from teachers from Burlington High School. We have parents from current high school students.
Okay.
We have a couple community members. So when you do
a committee?
I think it's 19.
Wow.
They're not small committees.
Okay.
Yeah. So when you do an MSBA project like Fox Hill, the MSBA gives you a form and says you need all of these people, all these roles represented, and you fill out who's representing. We have like a school business manager that's, finances, et cetera.
Okay.
So you fill in all those slots. And basically we are trying. The high school is not an MSBA project, but we are mirroring the process.
Okay.
We're so familiar with it with Fox Hill.
Why
and
not?
it exists, right. It's a good framework to work around. So we just use the same format.
And it like gets everybody kind of in the same mindset.
Exactly.
So you're not like reinventing the wheel.
Exactly.
Okay.
So basically MSBA, which is the Massachusetts School Building Authority, is a needs-based application process that each town can submit one project every year.
Okay.
So for about 10 years, we submitted the high school. So
we've known
that the high school is going to be our biggest need in town for schools. It was also likely to be the most expensive, so we submitted it for many years. And we were denied for, I think it was 11 years. And then we said, okay, doesn't sound like we'll get the high school. Let's try our next one on the list, Fox Hill.
Yeah, after, 3 or 4 times, most people give up.
Correct.
After 11, yeah.
So we put Fox Hill in 2019, and were accepted the first year with Fox Hill. So that was a notice that Fox Hill was in need. So that was great, and we're supported by the MSBA. They're a partner with Fox Hill. We have submitted the high school again for a couple more years. You can submit one a year. So
right, but I wasn't sure if you could only submit one per year as long as there wasn't another project going on.
It's true. We're not going to get it.
Well, yeah, I know. But I wasn't sure. If
you can submit, but if you have one in the pipeline, you're not going to get it. But you don't get hurt by trying, and we obviously have the application already ready to go.
Right.
So that is why
they're going to send us money. Why not?
Yeah. So unfortunately, with Fox Hill in the program and having submitted Burlington High School so many times unsuccessfully, we finally had to bite the bullet and say construction is not getting less expensive. No. The need is not getting less. The boilers are not getting newer. The roof is not getting newer.
You're kind of digging a deeper hole every year that you.
Correct. Yeah. And every year there's capital projects, things that we want to do. And it's like, why? Like your car, your house.
I was about to say, like buying a new car. It's like, okay, bringing it in for maintenance, and it's just this that needs to get fixed.
Yes.
And then just this. And then, so it's like also like, do people still get put on hold? Or is the phone tree nightmare the new, please hold? Because it's like, I remember getting put on hold going, okay, how long do I wait before I just hang up?
Yeah.
So
that's the thought process that the school committee has gone through for the number of years now, and saying we can't wait for the state anymore. The state help is not coming.
Okay. Basically, the kids who graduated weren't born when we started this project.
Correct.
Okay.
So we have decided to go on our own, but follow the process so that we know it, we're used to it.
Okay.
We're following the process. So
if
that's
the state, in
where
their
we
infinite
land.
wisdom, does decide that they have extra money that they want to give us, which I know
Maybe,
something
yeah.
happened. But yeah, you're familiar with it. You've been through, everything before. Okay, so we're starting the process with the high school.
Yes.
And how do you even start a project
great
like
question.
that? You don't just wake up one morning and say, hey, I'm going to spend $30-something million.
So the very first step is we ask town meeting for what's called the feasibility study.
Okay.
So basically, it's $1.5 million, and town meeting has already provided it to us.
Okay.
And it is enough money for us to hire someone, an experienced project team, to take us through this process.
Okay.
Okay. And then basically what they do is they've actually mapped out every square inch. They look at the school.
Wow.
They take existing conditions. They measure it.
Okay.
They look at the concrete. They're looking at the roof, the age of everything, the ancient science labs, the age of our boilers, all of those things, and they map that out. And that's our fees. And then they give us the options.
Okay.
So to back up one step the very first step is that project team. Creating the project team. So we put out a public RFP.
Now, is the project team the same as the project committee?
So there's the building committee.
Building
Committee, and we follow, it's an outline, it's a public bid process. So we go out and say, hey, Fox, we need a project manager for this.
Okay.
So we solicit bids from project management companies, and they apply.
Okay.
And we go through an interview process, like a ranking process. There's a whole committee that does that.
Okay.
So we actually chose the same team that we're working with Fox Hill, because they've been so good working with Fox Hill, and they knew Burlington. They had known Burlington very well throughout working with Fox Hill.
So the company that we are talking about now is the design firm, or just
they're called the owner's project manager. So that is Doran Whittier. They're the same project manager for Fox Hill. It's different
and
folks.
And this is part of the feasibility study, or is this something else?
Yep. No. So the very first step of the feasibility study is because we don't have.
This is why I haven't watched all the meetings.
It's okay. It's okay.
Because I'm like.
The very first step in the feasibility study is hire that project team, because we don't have experts on how to build a school, or we don't have the capability, we don't have the staff to hire anyone to be putting together any documents.
Everybody's got to do their real jobs.
So we basically they're a consultant, and they're the project team.
Okay.
Then the second step is the architect.
Got it.
So the same process.
But it's not the same company.
Correct. Because the project manager represents us. They represent our best interests.
Okay.
They represent Burlington, and then they work, they hold the architect accountable. They kind of are the project manager saying, okay, architect, I need this, that, and the other thing.
Okay.
But it's the same process to hire both of them. So Doran Whittier is our project management team, and Tape Architects is our architectural team.
And are they the same architectural
They are a different
team?
architectural team. We loved the architectural team on Fox Hill, but different companies actually bid on the high school. That company didn't choose to bid on the high school. It's a different type of project.
Also it's a different project. An elementary school versus, science labs.
Correct.
And,
and when we interviewed architect firms that applied, they basically showed us all of the high schools that they had done.
Okay.
And we got to say, these are things that we like, and these are things that we didn't necessarily like. And we're very happy with Tape so far.
Cool.
Yeah. So further into the feasibility study is what they've done is the existing conditions, right? So they take a look at all what exists, what land exists, what's wetlands, all of that.
There's a lot of wetlands in this town.
Yeah. And here if we don't have wetlands, it's the granite ledge, right? So there's fun. This is a great piece of property. I love it. So then the next process is they came to us and they say, okay, here's all the different options. Here's what we could do. We could renovate.
Okay.
We could do an addition renovation, or we could build something all
So
new.
the addition renovation is like keep and fix it for like this part, and then this other part's going to be brand new.
Yes, you're familiar with Marshall Simons, correct?
Yes.
That was an addition renovation in 2011.
Oh my gosh, it was that long ago? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, because there was like no noticeable main entrance.
Yes. Yeah.
So yeah, that whole shiny
So Memorial was a good example of, it was all new. It built right next to the old school.
Right.
And Fox Hill will be all new. But Marshall Simons Middle School was, and we took some of the old and then put additions around it and renovated the existing.
Like the glass hallways are from the 2011 project.
Yes. Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
So basically what the team did was they came up, we had a lot of options. I think at least probably 15 different options,
I think that's
different
where I tuned it
flavors.
out because my brain started to hurt.
Yes. So that's what the committee does, is basically we look at all the options and narrowed it down.
Okay.
And I will tell you the criteria that we really used to narrow down was cost to some extent, right?
Okay.
Like the really expensive ones, we'd knock up. Yep.
You know, we do not have the money trees in our
And disruption was another big piece.
disruption of.
To our current students.
Okay.
So one big thing that we were all very adamant about was to try and disrupt the current students, so your children, as little as possible.
Okay.
So the one thing we really, really wanted to avoid was okay, you can go to school at the mall for 4 years while we knock this down and rebuild, right?
It sounds ridiculous,
Yes.
but yeah, no,
Yes.
I know exactly. Where do you put,
Yep.
1,000
Winchester
kids?
did that with an elementary school. They had no choice but to knock it down and rebuild, and they had to disperse
No,
some of those
Burlington
students.
just got a new high school recently, and I know Waltham did too.
Yes. I don't know enough about how those got built, but
Okay, I know. I'm just throwing
that's
that at
okay.
you. There's W10.
But so the modulars, we eliminated pretty much every option that made kids go to school in modulars.
Modulars are like temporary trailers.
Yep, trailers. Or like the joke was like we have office space. They could go to school in office space, but nobody wanted that, right? Nobody wants their senior year to be in a Burlington office park. So we went through the options, and we can talk about that later, but basically narrowed it down to a single one. So that was months. And then the current option that we chose is considered an addition renovation. The nickname was AR2, but we are working on like a fancy name. Bridge to the Future there's a bridge involved.
Cool.
So yeah. So, like a sky bridge. So that's kind of a tentative name. This is not Linda.
If we do go
This is not it.
Oh, that's not it. But if we do go with,
This is our.
so the committee has narrowed it down to a plan.
Correct.
And if we were to go ahead with the project for a new high school, it would be this or nothing.
Correct.
Okay.
For where we are right now. Yep.
Okay. Which is why you're here.
So yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So high level next steps.
So wait, did
you
we
wanna-
finish talking about why we chose not to renovate and why we are doing, it's not really a hybrid plan, but the build and the
The ad reno.
reno.
Addition renovation. Sure. So I think that's probably the number one question we've gotten asked in this project. It's big, it's beautiful. Why can't we renovate it?
Right.
It's big is not a good thing for renovation, right? One of the reasons that the MSBA actually hasn't accepted our application is that this school was built for over 2,000 students, and we have roughly 900 here now. So as you know, BCAT is here.
Yep.
We have a preschool. We have some office space.
All the admin.
We have admin. We have 2 gyms. We have an auditorium. So a lot of that space isn't necessarily what the MSBA would consider school.
Okay.
So one, there we are paying to kind of heat and cool square footage that we don't need.
Okay.
The other big thing is that the school is very, very inaccessible. The amount of elevation changes in the school is 13. There's 13 different floors. So one of the questions was like, can't we put ramps on the streets or something like that? What you'd
The
have
ramps that exist are kind of scary.
Correct.
In themselves.
Correct. So it's very steep. If you lost control of a wheelchair going downhill, you'd be in trouble. And if you were coming up the hill on crutches, I don't know if you'd ever make it.
I don't think you'd be able to go up in a wheelchair either.
And there's no sprinklers in this building, so it's made of concrete. No. So
Never
to get
noticed that. Okay.
sprinklers in a concrete ceiling, this building's a bunker.
Yeah.
Over half the classrooms have no windows. You can't magically get sunlight into the center of a bunker. So
Not very
full renovation is extremely expensive. There's a reason that you look around town and they are not renovating old homes anymore. They're knocking them down.
Right.
To put in the modern systems, the cables, the HVAC that we need is incredibly expensive.
Okay.
To put in accessibility is incredibly expensive. And what I mentioned before, if you're going to renovate a building with students in it, you have to put those students somewhere else. So renovation is very disruptive and very expensive. And I think there's this sense of it should be the least expensive option, but it definitely is not.
I'm just blown away by the 13 different levels because I do remember both times. So my daughter is finishing up her sophomore year, actually she's done. But
Day and a half, yeah.
So I've been to 2 back to school nights. Both times I've gotten hopelessly lost, and I know I'm not alone because some of the parents that I was walking and getting lost in the hallways with, they're like, I went here, I graduated from here, and I still don't know where I'm going. Because it's exactly that.
Yeah.
You know, this staircase goes there, and this staircase, you can't get there from here.
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
So what we ultimately decided on, I think, is a really nice compromise because we basically got the very middle of this building. So the science labs that are circa 1971.
Okay.
The windowless classrooms, the steep hallways.
Okay.
And the library, right? The kind of that takes up a lot of space.
Okay.
And keep the things that might be more expensive, like the gyms, the auditorium, and some of the music rooms.
Okay.
And basically build a new school attached to those. So
So
this is going to be the new part here, and then this is like we've gutted the whole middle, and these are the gyms, and then this is the top where we are now. This is BCAT.
Okay.
This is the cafeteria. That's BCAT.
So will the cafeterias remain?
The cafeteria will remain as the preschool. It'll get renovated into the preschool.
Okay. So
And then there'll be a brand new cafeteria, new kitchen. All classroom space, except for a couple music rooms, will be brand new.
Okay.
All new state-of-the-art science labs. There's some like robotics technology rooms, all with light. So if you see how we create a courtyard, so all of these rooms have natural light.
Windows.
Yes, real windows, air, natural light, all of those things that are missing right now.
When you mentioned gutting, are we just like...
Actually, not even gutting, like destroying.
Okay.
Yep.
So
Demolishing.
Demolishing.
There
okay.
you go. Yep.
Thank you. I just wanted to make sure that...
Yep. No.
Okay.
You're right.
And, all right, so we're removing half the building, but keeping the other half. So, like, where BCAT is right now,
Yes.
is that going to stay BCAT?
Yes.
Okay, so we're not moving anywhere.
Nope.
Okay. And the preschool where the Burlington Early Childhood Center is right now, that's not going to stay there.
Correct.
That's going to go where the cafeterias are.
Yes.
When does that happen? Like, we were talking about not wanting to relocate the kids
Sure.
while all of this is done.
So
But
I don't have super good insight into the phasing. So basically, to step one more step back into like the where we are now.
oh, okay.
We're still designing. We basically chose the option. I'm trying to think when we did in April, I believe, is when we
Okay.
finally got it down to this one option.
Okay.
And now they are meeting with teachers, administrators, special education, childhood center.
Okay.
I'm sure BCAT got a phone call at some point.
Okay.
But like all the relevant parties
Okay.
to really they're
What do you
more
need?
blueprinting, exactly.
Yeah,
So like, okay, do we have this room?
If we're going to do it, let's
Yes,
do it right, because it's
correct.
going to last for
They
another
talk
50
a lot
years.
about adjacencies.
Okay.
So like, what does the science classroom need to be near a math classroom, right? Like, are they gonna, like, where is the
like
science
the science center.
Exactly. Where's the science center gonna go? It's in there. There's different types of special ed classrooms.
Okay.
We're moving we're expanding some programs from the middle school up into the high school.
Got it.
So like all those conversations, where are they going to go? They did change. There's been some like aesthetic feedback, right? Like this picture, it looks very blunt in the front. So this is where the bridge will actually go. So they slimmed it down and just added a bridge. So there's a ton more design that's going in.
How many levels are we talking? Hopefully less than 13.
It's going to be basically 3 with a lower walkout. Lower level, and I believe that's where the cafeteria. So there could be some outdoor dining. Yeah.
Okay.
But yes, much more straightforward. Staircase, elevators, and students will not be. That was one of the reasons they add the bridge, is to like kind of make it a circle, so students, there's no dead hallways.
Oh, okay.
So they're very good. Like, these people know what they're doing on like.
So there's a better
flow and adjacencies, getting kids to class, storage, all those, like where the offices need to be. All those things. So we're still deep in that design phase, and they will talk about phasing, right? So like we can't knock this down until the new preschool is built. So I can't probably tell you the year.
Because you have to like think linearly.
Correct.
Okay.
And what we're doing actually, especially for the top and the bottom, is we're cutting out the boiler room. So like we have to build independent HVAC for these new
like
spaces.
Temporary.
Well, permanent. Well. This building is going to be its own building. So we're BCAT, BECC, and central office will be a separate building from the high school on the property. So it's going to be more of a community campus. So it's going to be the gyms are going to stay. The auditorium will be there. They're going to be a new playground for the preschool.
Yay!
Yep. So.
I really like the fish bridge.
Okay. Well, we'll bring that. Okay. So this building, so again, I don't know the details. Even Fox Hill, I'm not close to the phasing yet.
Okay.
But so they will, there will be very detailed phasing plans. Like, okay, this is these 6 months.
Okay.
And these are these 6 months. They're probably going to need to move parking around, things like that. So like those are all what the phasing gets at.
Okay. I'm having flashback. Yes, I'm dating myself again. I'm having flashbacks to the Big Dig.
Okay.
Where when they started the project, the end result was supposed to meet the needs of that time. But by the time they finally finished it, it was obsolete. Is that something that the architects, or is somebody taking into account that by the time we're done with this, it will last us another 30, 50 something years?
For sure. So it is interesting, whenever we talk about dollars, they're always talking about dollars like when we spend them, and like, so everything that they're looking at is as of 2029, 2030. So like, I do think we have an educational consultant, so they're all looking at, you know, kind of the most modern methods. So yes, it's designed to be a 50-year school. One particular thing in both school projects, Fox Hill was like this architectural model of the snowflake with the movable walls.
Yeah, with the pods.
And it was this great architecture. It could have been on Architectural Digest in 1964, right? Mm-hmm. We very much said we do not want to be on Architectural Digest. We want a school. We want a straightforward school. We don't want anything fad.
We want something functional.
Yes, we don't want any new 2025 fads. We want,
don't need to be trendy.
Correct.
Okay.
We want a functional school that's going to last a long time.
Okay.
We did build a little wiggle room in terms of the size if enrollment does go up.
Because I was thinking, you know, with they're building houses and condos and apartments everywhere. So it does seem, from, you know, the random uneducated eye like me, that there is going to be an influx of students at some point. So are they considering?
We have considered.
And I know it's also hard to consider the future because you don't know what it is yet.
We don't want to overbuild. That's another, obviously, we don't want to be heating and cooling spaces that we don't need. So we did add a 10% buffer. So we have about 900 students here,
Okay.
and it's built for a capacity of 1,100 students. So nowhere near the 2,000 that this building is for, but it should provide us. And our enrollment honestly has been very steady.
Okay.
But
I haven't looked at any of the numbers,
there are
so, okay.
zoning changes, so it's possible we could get more. But I think families are just not as big anymore.
That's true.
But this should definitely last us.
So the questions are being asked at that
Absolutely.
level. Okay. I've seen some documentation saying that this plan and the funding will go in front of town meeting
Important
in
question.
September.
Yes.
Tell me more about that, because
Sure.
it's like,
Yep,
I
that's the
thought
next
we already
piece.
kind of went through that, or did we not go through that, or did we go through different phases of it, or?
So town meeting so far has approved the feasibility study.
Okay.
So which is basically like, here's the money to come up with a plan and a budget.
Okay.
That you then will bring to the town meeting and the town to decide if we're going to pay for.
Okay.
I should have got the most exact number, but we're looking in the $345 million range for what we're designing now. Now, just like Fox Hill, they will reevaluate that budget at almost every step of the way. As they do more blueprint, if they get more detailed in the design, they'll send it to cost estimators and get another number.
Okay.
But we will have a number to bring to town meeting and a much more detailed design in September. So September town meeting, September 29th.
Okay.
Town meeting has to approve anything that we borrow money for.
Okay.
So they did vote for Fox Hill last year, and I stood there and spoke about Fox Hill, and I said, I will be back in 1 year for the high school. So please be aware that, we need both of these buildings. They're
Right.
both important.
And the new police station.
Correct.
So, okay.
And the police station and Fox Hill were the same town meeting. So basically, town meeting will need to vote. This is a new concept for Burlington. I believe Nick Priest is talking about it tonight as we speak at the town hall.
Wow.
But
Okay.
we will need to have a debt exclusion because of the size of this project.
Okay. And what exactly is a debt exclusion for those of us who are mathematically inept?
I think most folks are familiar with the concept of the Proposition 2.5.
Yes.
Okay.
That I remember quite
This
well.
is a piece of, so we're not raising the overall budget. So some towns, I think you're probably more familiar with the votes to do the 2.5 override to
Okay.
raise the budget, the overall budget. Like I think Reading or North Reading just did a $10 million override. Milton had one. So that's a budget override, and that's on like the whole budget.
Okay.
This is it's under that same legislation, but it's called a debt exclusion. So basically what we do is the town would vote to exclude the debt for this project from that 2.5% calculation.
Okay.
So our budget would,
So like the school line item
Yes.
is the only thing that's going to be impacted.
correct.
Okay.
So basically the town would need to vote, and that's a 50%, they need more than 50% of votes that we would be able to exclude this from our calculation of we can only raise the capacity 2.5%.
Okay.
If that fails, then we would need to raise more than 2.5 to pay for the school.
Okay. Got it.
So basically what will happen is town meeting will vote, and they need a 2/3 vote at town meeting to move forward with the school in September. If that passes, then it will go to this isn't a guarantee, but likely a special election after town meeting, where the whole town will need to vote to pass the debt exclusion.
Okay. And that's the 50%.
Yeah, the town only needs to pass like a simple majority. And then basically, you also, if that passes, you only pay that tax increase for the life of the loan. So it would only be however long we borrow, probably 25 or 30 years, you'd only pay
Just
that.
like a house. Okay.
Yes. So basically I do tend to think of it as like we would kind of take a special loan out for this school.
Okay.
And to be fair, most towns in Massachusetts now are paying for these projects in this way.
Okay.
Got very lucky with Fox Hill because MSBA was paying some of it and we had the capacity.
Okay.
But I think you'll probably have heard Wilmington is trying to pass a school. I've already seen the signs. Andover has passed a few. Lexington, every single school is a debt exclusion. So these are not, it's not an unfamiliar concept in the state. It's just relatively unfamiliar in Burlington.
Because we haven't needed it to this point.
Correct.
But it's not, we're not reinventing the wheel.
Correct.
Or we're not inventing the wheel. We're just borrowing it because it has happened. It's familiar to hopefully the general public, or if it's not familiar, there are places where we could go and ask questions and figure out what worked, what didn't work, how can we do it differently, and this seems to be the best plan.
Yep.
Got it. So, with the town meeting, so you said 2/3 vote. What happens if that does not pass? Are we still going to have the election, and would it just change the percentage? I don't know.
If it doesn't pass town meeting, it's a little bit back to the drawing board.
Okay.
We could try again in May with the same project. We could ask for more seed money and redesign. It to some extent would depend on like why it didn't pass.
Okay. But hopefully it will, because it's like if we have to wait 6 months.
That's $4 or $5 more million on the project. Yeah.
Okay. What about the vote itself? So if town meeting says we're not happy about it, but we'll do it.
Okay.
Then we have a special election and it gets 49% of the vote. After you're done crying, then, you know.
I do think we can go back, like we can either make changes to the project.
Okay.
Let's hope we don't go down that road. I'm not sure I know the answer.
In a similar vein, you mentioned that because we had the state assistance for Fox Hill, we did not have to do that. What about the police station?
Neither one. So both Fox Hill and the police station fit under our capacity.
Okay. I'm almost afraid to ask this question. With the community already concerned with Cambridge Street and the bike lane, and I know it's out of Burlington's control because it's a state road, but it's only going to be a couple of months, and people are up in arms about it. How do you anticipate people reacting with so many changes going on? Because the Fox Hill's going to be built and being worked on at the same time as the police station, at the same time as potentially this. There's no quiet corner of Burlington for you to go to.
I think they do a really good job of controlling these construction projects because Fox Hill is going to be right next to Fox Hill. This is going to be right next to the existing. I work in Watertown, and I drive by the Belmont High School. And there's Watertown is doing 2 schools as well. So some of these projects you could probably reach out and touch the construction. So I think they do a very good job of controlling it. And staging it so it's these are very well-oiled projects. We use most of these are like state-approved contractors. There's probably only 10 out there, so like they're all building the different schools, so they're very used to it.
You know, wouldn't it be nice if we could just borrow the plans from another school?
If only anything would fit on this weird shaped property. Yeah, so I think it will be controlled. I think there may be a year overlap if these projects go on schedule between Fox Hill and the high school. But I can't imagine disruption like in the center of town. Even when you look at the plans, I'm more familiar with Fox Hill, but it'll be the same. Like there's designated like lay down. You know, like this is where the materials go. This is where the contractors are allowed to park. If they're anywhere near students, they're quarried. You know, so it's very, I feel like, well-controlled projects.
Oh my gosh, I just realized town elections are at the school. there's going to be at least one election where we're going to have to, like,
Yep. Yeah.
wow. Okay,
Maybe we
that's
take
gonna be
shuttle.
fun.
Maybe we can vote at the middle school or something.
That's true. Okay, I digress. Because it's a construction project, because you're dealing with contractors and subcontractors, nothing ever goes as planned. You know, if you've ever watched HGTV, there's always a surprise when they rip open a wall and it's going to cost more money or it's going to delay the... In that really big binder, have there been any, like, contingency plans? What happens if the class of 2030 can't move in for their senior year?
Sure. Absolutely. So the biggest thing is there's a giant contingency budget line item.
Okay.
So we carry that on every step of the project.
Okay.
So like I mentioned before, they re-estimate the cost. So Fox Hill's price is locked in. Like the state is already committed to their dollar amount and they're not budging. If we go over, it's all on us.
Okay.
So every like
don't screw up, people.
3 or 4 months, they go back and say like, okay, we just figured out exactly what materials we're going to use for the windows. Get us a better cost estimate. Like, what about steel prices? Get us a better cost estimate. So we are tracking that and keep that contingency there. We also eventually send it out to bid for contractors, and they could, in theory, come back. It's been to so many cost estimators, but there is a possibility that they come back with bids above our budget.
Okay.
You know, so again, those contingencies financially are well built in, and they're built in at every step. Like we carry it through, even if we're within budget, we carry it through. Okay. In terms of time frame, again, there's contingencies built into all the staging as well, because again, we're working on a school schedule. So there's very specific. Fox Hill is scheduled to move over February vacation. Like, so that's how tight that timeline is. And like they talked about the auditorium here, we called it a summer slammer. So like they do, I do. Basically, like put all your resources on that, because with this no students in the summer, so like they can focus some of these renovation projects where they would have to displace students. So that music wing and the auditorium, they called it a summer slammer, where they would just like focus the efforts in like that window. Correct. Okay. So those things are very staged, and they're doing some site work at Fox Hill over the summer. Okay. So like when the students are not there, they're like doing 10 times more work. Right. So because you don't have to worry about running into small children. Correct. And if the building is not occupied, then we not have to worry about where the kids are going to go. Right. So I won't say that it's impossible that we will run into delays, but it's absolutely been talked about.
Okay. Because I'm just, okay. With part of the school eventually getting knocked down, like, there's a timeline saying that even after the project is finished, there's like site work that needs to be done. Is that like repaving the driveway or?
Yes. So that's landscaping, repaving the driveway, basically like
stuff that doesn't necessarily impact the students?
Correct. So like I said, there's areas that they call lay down. So like they're going to be staging materials there. Okay. The contractor's going to be parking there. So like when that's all done and the kids are all moved in, they'll redo the teacher parking lot, or they may still be doing paving and things like that. Okay.
I did not look at this closely before, and if this is not a good subject, just say, let's not talk about that right now. The football field, is that staying intact?
It is.
Okay.
Easy answer.
Okay. Because I know it's just got returfed, and the bleachers were all like, I don't know if they're ADA compliant, but they had to be like, make sure that you can't like fall through.
I believe our plan includes some work over there to plumbed bathrooms.
Ooh. Okay, that would be
Yeah.
All right, what am I forgetting? Because you thought we were going to have a lot of questions, but I think we kind of answered everything. You know, we talked about with the current status and condition of the high school, why has it taken so long? But as you mentioned, we kept going to the state saying we need help, we need help, we need help, we need help. And that hasn't worked. When you had mentioned that this current high school has capacity of 2,000 students, that is without central administration, without BCAT, without the BECC, all that kind of stuff.
Correct.
Okay. But the new capacity of roughly 1,000 students still maintains the preschool BCAT and all that.
Yes. So that's actually like a real positive of this project is we talked about we could do we could have made this just the high school, right? Like we could have said this is some land, just the high school, right? We're the school committee. We can only worry about the high school. The price tag would be lower. And then we could say to the town, you know, good luck.
Yeah. Good luck finding a new preschool.
Correct. And some administration and BCAT, you know, you can go rent space in the mall. You know?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Because I really don't want to do that.
We have the space and we have the buildings and we have the kind of community commitment to these projects.
Okay.
So we are keeping that building. It's a separate building. You know, just I think it made sense. It's adjacent. Kids can come walk to BCAT to do projects, etc. But it gives the the preschool a little bit of space, and they're not in a building with high school students. And then it just worked out as well, I believe.
Because I know like some of the child development classes, the students help at the preschool.
So the preschool that's in the high school now is staying. That child development class is separate than the early childhood center.
Got it.
And again, we talked to all of the early childhood folks. I'm really passionate about it. I wish my kids could have gone to that preschool, but you know, there's capacity, et cetera. Right. So we will be able to open some additional capacity, hopefully there. And it's some of the programs are state mandated for certain students there, so we need to offer those. But at the end of the day, for the price tag of this project, we are getting high school and community buildings. So a preschool, a cable access television station, an auditorium that we certainly use for plenty of all of town meeting, and the gyms.
Is the auditorium moving?
It's not moving. It's being renovated.
It's being renovated.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Because it doesn't seem that bad unless I'm like
again the
something.
ADA, the little steep
yes, it is
coming
steep.
down. Yes. So
I'm just thinking of the main streets, and I'm like, whoa.
Yeah. So the auditorium will be renovated and will be able to be used for, dance recitals, town meeting, all of that. And then the gyms, like if we were to make this an MSBA project, we wouldn't be eligible for 2 gyms or that big of an auditorium. So there are some benefits that we aren't an MSBA project.
Going back to the auditorium for a second, I'm having flashbacks to my high school that the auditorium was so small they could barely fit the senior class. Forget about the entire school. With the capacity either of the current auditorium or plans for the reno, would it be possible to like move graduation inside in the auditorium, or?
I definitely don't think we could move graduation into the auditorium, but I don't.
Can like the entire school fit, or the student body fit in the current auditorium? How big is the current auditorium? Do you have?
I have no idea. It's got to be in here somewhere if we want to spend the rest of the 10 minutes.
Oh my gosh, that's like 6-point font.
Yeah. So this is all the.
So what is that? What is that exactly?
This is the preliminary design program. So this would be
part of the feasibility study.
But this would be something we would submit, and they would mail it to the MSBA. So this isn't. The joke is we'll pass it around between school committee members, but this is it includes,
I would not call that some light reading.
Yeah, so the educational program, so basically what we're, our philosophy is.
Okay.
The initial space summary, so I talked about like how many square footage of math classrooms, how many square
Okay.
footage of science, the evaluation of the existing conditions, so building conditions, structural assessment, mechanical, fire, plumbing, and then the site development, the big question, where's all those wetlands? And then the preliminary evaluation of alternatives. So that was our 15 alternatives, but that's all captured here.
Start like going through all 15 of them. Did you have like a pros and cons with version 1, pros and cons with version 2, or did you just
Yeah, so each committee meeting, we would probably whittle away like 2 or 3.
Okay.
Again, in the beginning, it was like too expensive, too disruptive. All
So you
those
didn't have to,
criteria.
like-
So, but then it was more difficult when we got down to probably the last 4 or 5, because then there was the new and the ad reno. And some of the addition renovations were like similar. So you're like, what's the difference like with these two? And in the end, they were like, look, addition renovation or new. And then when we couldn't find an alternative location for the football field, there was really no choice left but the addition renovation. And for the most part, you're getting the majority of new school building and then some renovation in the auditorium and music areas.
Cool. I was just thinking of something else and it totally slipped my mind.
But they're still going to be working over the summer. We have a few more meetings, and they're really going to tighten up the drawings. We'll get some much more pretty visuals. This is called like a massing, so they'll get kind of more of like a, you know, what they can do with CGI nowadays. So they'll kind of get you what it's going to look like. We are going to try and find a name, but over the summer, then hopefully the town will be able to kind of socialize and really digest. Now school's out, we can really digest, like, this is the option, this is how much it's going to cost. We need to get more community, this is why I'm here. We need to get more community awareness of the project. I think get people comfortable with this building, understand why we need, I think there's a lot of parents my age that went here and are like, yes, I went there and it was terrible when I went there. The same thing is still leaking, right? So I think there's some level of understanding.
And my daughter mentioned, oh, it's raining, and they had to close that stairwell because it's flooded.
There we go. So I think there's some level of awareness, like, yes, we need to do this. So that's what we want to just kind of spread that awareness, help people understand. I think that it is going to be expensive, and we understand that, but it doesn't get less expensive if we wait 2 more years. It gets dramatically more expensive, as we know from all of these other projects. So I think those are kind of important things to socialize, that we need it now. We've needed it for 10 years. And that, like, you need
more
to,
than 10 years.
you need to talk to your town meeting members. And when we have more information about voting, we will get that as well.
Because that's another thing. As I'm listening to you, you know, educate the community. There are a bazillion, or seemingly a bazillion meetings. And a lot of them are already on BCAT. There is the project website that is available. But can somebody, like, go to the library or the school committee, you know?
This is on the website. This is the PDF on the website. You can flip
Advisable
through.
not to print it out.
Correct. I mean, you can absolutely call the superintendent's office and view this if you need a hard copy. But it is on the website. We are working on kind of some more of those visual flyers so I think people can understand. We will offer tours. Probably of the building.
Current school?
Yes. Because I think that really helped people understand the need at Fox Hill. When they saw some of the walls that haven't moved in 15 years in the pie-shaped classrooms. So I think
the curtains between the classrooms.
Yes, exactly. So they trip down, they get lost. We let them loose and they get lost for 20 minutes. You know, they can understand maybe why we need a new school.
I don't even think it'll take you 20 minutes to get lost in this school. I got lost in 5.
There you go. So those are the things we have on tap for the summer, is really that community awareness.
How would somebody find out about all of this stuff?
So the website is bhsbuildingproject.com. So all of that's there. BCAT does do a good job of kind of advertising our events. Our project team plans to be at the beer gardens. We're working on figuring out how, I mean,
Beer and
yeah.
spending money.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah. Okay.
we're working on figuring out how to best communicate that to folks.
Okay.
But I would say that website is probably best. I'm not super active on social media, so I know some people are and some people aren't. So it's that kind of double-edged sword. It's on, most of our events are on like the town calendar.
Okay.
I would say, probably more people watch the regular school committee meetings than all of the building committee meetings.
Okay.
So we do like a BHS update in the regular school committee meetings. So maybe you could catch those events there. But I would say the website, and then we'll have more media as we go into the summer, some videos, some tour options. So if you follow BCAT, hopefully you'll get access to those.
I just lost that thought again.
Oh, no.
I hate when it happens. Is it too late for someone to get involved in the process?
No, not at all. So attend the meetings, watch them. I think that's probably, if you want to get caught up, maybe read some of the minutes. That might be a little faster than watching all the. But I think hopefully maybe I caught you up from this meeting.
You
maybe
did.
Okay.
I love the one-on-one tutorial.
Okay,
I think I need that.
Okay, so hopefully I've caught you up enough. And if you're new to this, definitely go on the website. And I know it's a lot of information. Maybe just watch the videos. Call into our meetings.
Watching it twice the speed.
Yeah.
So
there you go.
sounds
There
like
you
little
go.
munchkins,
That's okay.
But it takes
That's
up the
okay.
time.
And then eventually we will need folks to be advocating for a yes on the project. So we'll need to they can work with the, within the community to kind of make their voice heard as well.
There are roughly 19 members on the building project committee. Are those people, are the names or contact information listed on the website?
Yes.
So instead of inundating just the school committee with what's going on, maybe they can talk to one of the other parents or one of the teachers that they know or
and there's a contact us on the website as well, so they can submit a question there. Yes.
What's like the turnaround time if somebody does ask a question? Is it like 2 to 3 business days, or is it?
Generally what we would try to do is I think like acknowledge receipt, and depending on the question we'd answer it in the committee meeting so that everyone kind of gets the answer. So the timing so the timing may vary, and obviously depends on the question, but they can definitely expect their response.
Okay, cool. Because you know how unhappy people get if,
I know.
It's not answered right.
Yes.
Cool. I'm like really psyched for this. I think it's going to be an amazing opportunity for the town, an amazing opportunity for the students, an amazing, and if you educate the kids, then they're the ones that make the decisions tomorrow. And you want them to be making, good decisions. So
one thing I did want to say is while we're closing out, if your child is going into 5th, 6th, 7th, or 8th grade, they could be in the the opening year.
Okay.
So it's not that far off.
If they're going into
I know today is like a hard.
I just want to make sure because
4th through 7th right now.
So
if they're
class of 30, 31, 32, 33.
All right, thank you.
Yes. Because my son is class of 29.
Okay.
And he's going to start high school.
Okay, so he'll just miss it.
Okay, so classes 30 to 31, 30, 31, 32, 30 through 33.
Yes. Opening year.
Opening year.
Yes.
Trendsetter.
Yeah.
But not a trendy school. All right, we are out of time. So thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
I loved the recap. Thank you. I might end up having you come back after, town meeting to catch me up again. But thank you. And I also want to thank everyone for tuning in this evening to find out more about not only the high school building project, but the Burlington building process and building the community and building a better world for everyone. So thank you for tuning in. Have a wonderful evening. I'll see you around town. Good night.